October releases were absolutely insane, but this month is no slouch either. I'm Jake Baldito, and I'm bringing you the top 10 games releasing in November 2017. Starting off at number 10, let's talk about The Inpatient. It's a survival horror game from the team behind Until Dawn, which was a complete surprise hit. The game was such a good ode to horror movies and just a nice surprise that's the reason why The Inpatient is on our list. The game takes place in the same universe actually as Until Dawn, although it's 60 years earlier, and you control in first person a character with amnesia in the Blackwood Sanitarium who's intent on reclaiming their own memories. Like Until Dawn, it's all based around player choice and decisions, and the story will reflect that. It's a PlayStation exclusive, but here's the kicker and the biggest disappointment for some people: it's actually a PSVR exclusive. Now I know some people aren't down with VR. I do hope that they eventually put out a version that's just built to be played on a controller, but I think this game, and more importantly this developer, just shows so much potential after Until Dawn that I want to see how this turns out. Number 9, let's talk about Super Lucky's Tale. This is actually the sequel to Lucky's Tale for Oculus Rift, except this time it's on Xbox One instead of Oculus Rift. It does have 4K support, and it launches on the same day as Xbox One X, so if you're getting that and you're looking for something to play, I guess this is it. Sorry, there's not much else. But the game itself isn't really much, to be honest. Look, it's a very simple game. I think I'm one of the few people that played through the first Lucky's Tale on Oculus Rift, and while it was a bit generic, it still has some pretty good classic platforming fun. The original one had the allure of VR to make it way more exciting, and this time it doesn't really have that. While the main character is kind of boring, both him and the world looks really damn good, so while it's definitely a game for younger audiences, it's probably not going to be a terrible game by any means, just simple, well-designed platforming goodness. And if you got an Xbox or an Xbox One X and you want to show it off with some good bright graphics, this might do the job. But at number 8, we have the somewhat remastered version of L.A. Noire for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and, interestingly enough, Nintendo Switch. We try not to always fill out these lists with like HD remakes and stuff like that, but L.A. Noire is really unique. It's gonna get a second chance here with like redone lighting, camera angles, and high-resolution texture, and just generally it's a cleaned up re-release, but it's gonna also have all the additional add-on content that the original game saw as DLC packed in. If you're like a lot of people who actually didn't get their hands on L.A. Noire when it came out, you investigate crime, and the driving isn't really that good, but the facial animations and just the story and vibe were really good. But the biggest question is, how well has that aged? I guess we're gonna have to find out. I'm very curious to see how a game like this will turn out on Switch. I do think it makes sense to put it on it, but also something worth pointing out is that 7 cases are gonna be rebuilt for a VR experience that you can play if you have an HTC Vive. This is a big deal for Rockstar to move into the VR space. I'm sure they're just testing the waters, both with VR and the Switch, but I hope it works out. But at number 7, we have Need for Speed Payback. I don't know if you guys remember, but Need for Speed, the whole franchise, actually took a year off. It was becoming a yearly franchise, and it took a step back to kind of refocus, and now we have this game, Payback. It's actually more of an open-world racing game focused on quote-unquote action driving, and it has 3 playable characters in this actual fleshed-out story. There's Tyler Morgan, who is the racer, there's Mac, who's kind of like the showman, and Jess, the wheelman. They all have different sets of skills and different driving situations, but they're all working together to take down this cartel called the House. We still haven't seen too much of this game, but from what we have seen, number 1, it looks gorgeous, but number 2, it looks fast and furious as hell, which for some people, that might sound like a terrible thing, but for some other folks, like me especially, that's a really cool thing. Some games have really tried to nail the cinematic racing experience to varying results, but I think if anyone can get it completely right, it should be Need for Speed. So fingers crossed, I guess. But at number 6, we have LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2. This is the sequel to LEGO Marvel Super Heroes. I don't know how you guys felt about that game, but this time around you can actually manipulate time, and it's the whole plot here. There's 4-player competitive battle modes, there's drop-in, drop-out co-op. It is a good game to play with friends, and the story this time around takes place in the open world of Chronopolis, which is actually a pretty clever mashup of 18 different Marvel locations like Kunlun, Nowhere, and even a noir version of New York City. And the game also has Spider-Man 2099, which with me, that scores huge points right off the bat. It's very interesting that the game is embracing Kang the Conqueror as the villain. It's really different, especially for a LEGO game, but I'm all about it as a Marvel fan. But from what we've seen going from the first LEGO Marvel Superheroes to this one, they're emphasizing more combat options and just more variety of situations. Not only that, it does seem like there's going to be a big emphasis on the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think for most people is a good thing. But at number 5, we have Mario Party, the Top 100, releasing for Nintendo 3DS. I don't know if you missed this, but it's actually a collection of 100 Mario Party mini-games taken from all the various games over the years. It's kind of like a greatest hits collection. And honestly, I think it's a really brilliant idea, but it's coming to the 3DS and not the Switch, which is a huge missed opportunity if you ask me. I just hope it has that one mini game from the original that had people like, palming the thumbsticks super fast, and it kind of gave everybody blisters so bad that Nintendo sent people gloves. Remember that? Even though it seems like a missed opportunity that's not releasing on Nintendo's new Golden Child platform, the 3DS has had some really solid experiences the last few months, so do not rule this one out. But at number 4, speaking of the Nintendo 3DS, we have Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. This one is set in a new Alola region like in the previous games, but it features an alternate storyline, new Pokemon, and locations that weren't actually available in the original versions. It's really essentially more Sun and Moon, which I don't know if you played it, but it was an incredibly solid Pokemon game with an emphasis on story and characters in a way we haven't seen before, and it was in a new and pretty exciting world that kind of just felt like Pokemon games were finally moving to a new era. Ultra Sun and Moon looks to expand upon that, and it pretty much looks like something you should hop into if you missed the Sun and Moon train the first time around. If Ultra Sun and Moon is anything like Sun and Moon, it will be challenging and rewarding. So again, I'm surprised it's another 3DS game on our list that you shouldn't let go under your radar. But at number 3, releasing for all the major platforms, we have Sonic Forces. Honestly, it's been a pretty damn good year for Sonic, and I hope Sonic Forces kind of like caps it all off, but who knows? It's actually a lot like a bigger, more blown up version of Sonic Generations in like the way you switch between modern Sonic and classic Sonic to play the 3D and 2D segments respectively. The coolest thing that I really like is that you can actually make your own Sonic character. They're gonna call it the Avatar, and he's gonna fit into the main game. You can customize him however you want, and I just think that's really different for a Sonic game. I like to see them trying new ideas. As the avatar you create, you can wield a grappling hook, you have different special attacks depending on which animal base you choose. You can also use all different types of weapons like flamethrowers and whips and hammers. And in a nice nod and adaptation from Sonic Mania, Sonic can actually perform the drop dash move that's in that game. I hope Sonic Forces turns out great. It seems like a perfect storm, like kind of a combination of a lot of good things Sonic Generations, modern Sonic, classic Sonic, Sonic Mania, and some of the good elements from the Sega Genesis era games and Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Colors. There's something here that could turn out great. But I guess all our questions will be answered when it's released on the 7th. But at number 2, we have Star Wars Battlefront 2. The thing I'm most excited about with this game is the fact that it seems like the developers understand that the last game was a little bit of a disappointment for a lot of people. It just lacked the content. So here it seems like they're doubling down. Is it enough to win people back? Some people were really burned by Battlefront, and I understand. I don't know for sure, but I am thankful that there is going to be a single-player story mode this time. Whether or not it's actually good remains to be seen, but it is going to fit within the canon and fill in the blanks between like Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And even if the game kind of sucks as a Star Wars fan, I still want to see that. But multiplayer is also going to be expanded with more class-emphasized based gameplay with customizable character classes, bigger and more levels, more vehicle types, and very importantly, it's going to have space battles and some content based on The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Maybe you were one of the folks who got to play the beta last month. I want to know what you guys think, because we won't really know how the full game is until it's released, especially with some of the questions that we're really having with the microtransactions and loot box stuff going on in the game. It seems kind of fishy, but we'll have to judge for ourselves when it drops November 17th. But at number 1, we have, say it with me now, Call of Duty World War II. Now, some people might be pissed that we put this at number 1, but frankly, we're just kind of hoping that this turns out to kind of reinvigorate the Call of Duty franchise by going back to its roots. Now, me personally, I am more of a fan of the boots on the ground gameplay, but younger generations of Call of Duty gamers have grown up on more fast-paced stuff. So I'm very curious to see how this game is going to do out there and how fans are going to react. If you can't tell, the game is set in World War II. It's trying to do a couple of different things here and there with like a hub world on the multiplayer side, but there's a big emphasis here once again on a good single player campaign that tries to up the grit and the realism that we've seen in Call of Duty games. It's nice to kind of go back to that. We'll have to wait and see. At the time of making this video, we haven't gotten our hands on it yet, but it drops in the beginning of the month, and the game has been surrounded by controversy, but it had a promising beta with some solid classic Call of Duty gameplay, and plus the M1 Garand sound is front and center. Everybody likes that sound effect. That probably sounds like a really weird specific thing to bring up in this video, but if you've played a World War II video game, you probably know what I'm talking about. But besides that, we also got some bonus games to mention real quick, including Elder Scrolls V Skyrim releasing on Nintendo Switch. We also have Nioh releasing for PC, which is something you should absolutely check out. And Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, the collection, is also releasing for Nintendo Switch this month. But those are the games dropping this November. I think it is a pretty good month, maybe not as just knockout crazy compared to October, but there's some good stuff to play this month. So most importantly, I want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Give me a list of your top top 5. What games you're looking forward to playing this month? We got a good mix of things, and we got 2 different first-person shooters that are competitive multiplayer. Which one are you gonna try? Really, let us know anything you want about these games. There is a lot to talk about, and if you got anything else for me, hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino. But you guys know, coming around, clicking the like button really helps us out. We really appreciate it. But if you're new, you should subscribe because we put out stuff like this every single day. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.